So in the last class, we have discussed in drug-induced blood disorders, we have discussed two kinds of drug-induced blood disorders, right? So today we'll be continuing other three types of drug-induced blood disorders. Okay. So yes. So other is drug-induced hemolytic anemia. What do you mean by hemolytic anemia? Hemolytic anemia is nothing but the blood cells will be broken down. That we call it as hemolysis. That is breaking down of blood cells. As there is breaking down of these blood cells, hemoglobin level will be decreased and causes anemia. So if this is caused due to, if this is induced by drugs, that we call it as drug-induced hemolytic anemia. So the definition includes, this is a process of premature RBC destruction in which RBCs are destroyed at a rate faster than bone marrow can replace them. That means the rate at which red blood cells are getting broken down or destroyed is more compared to the rate at which the new red blood cells are produced. So that we call it as hemolytic anemia, drug-induced hemolytic anemia. And then pathophysiology. In pathophysiology, it is caused by four mechanisms under two broad headings. So the first is drug-induced immune hemolytic anemia. So drug-induced hemolytic anemia caused by certain immune mechanisms. That includes Hampton mechanism and innocent bystander phenomenon. As we have seen in the drug-induced granulocytosis, these mechanisms we have discussed. So Hampton mechanism is followed and causes hemolysis by certain drugs like penicillins, cephalosporins, and streptomycin. So these are the antibiotics which cause drug-induced hemolytic anemia. And the other is innocent bystander phenomenon. So this is caused by certain drugs like sulfonamides, quinine, and quinidine. And then drug-induced autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Drug-induced autoimmune hemolytic anemia. That means our cells will be recognized as foreign particles. So this drug induces true antibodies to RBCs. So when this drug is entered, it will induce the formation of autoantibodies to red blood cells, causing the destruction of red blood cells. So drug-induced true autoantibodies to RBCs. And then drug-induced oxidative hemolytic anemia. So oxidative hemolytic anemia. So here oxidation reaction takes place, and what are the products that we get, these will cause the damage or breaking down of destruction of these blood cells. So this is generally found in patients with G6PD deficiency and glutathione peroxidase deficiencies. So G6PD deficiency is a disorder of HMP shunt that we have seen, that you know, in biochemistry, and G6PD deficiency causes. So in this deficiency disorder, what will happen? Because of this deficiency, it causes lack of NADPH concentration in red blood cells. So when there is decrease in the concentration of NADPH in the red blood cells, it reduces glutathione levels. So in our body, glutathione levels will be reduced, so that no substrate available for glutathione peroxidate to bind on. So where there is decrease in the levels of glutathione, generally in our body glutathione peroxidase enzyme is produced. So as there is less amount of glutathione, less amount of glutathione is present, but glutathione peroxidase enzyme is more, but glutathione levels are decreased. So what will happen? Instead of binding to this glutathione, as it is not available, it will cause the effect on red blood cells. That means it will damage or destruct the red blood cells. So during that process, peroxides will be produced. These peroxides will attack the red blood cells directly by oxidative stress and leads to hemolysis. So once again, I am going to repeat this. So in some patients who are with deficiency of G6PD, in that condition, what will happen? Because of this deficiency of G6PD in HMP shunt, decreased NADPH will be produced. So as there is decrease in the NADPH production, what will happen? There will be decrease in the reduced levels of glutathione. Generally, for 100 molecules of glutathione, 100 molecules of glutathione peroxide is required. But here what happened, instead of 100, only 50 are produced. But here the levels are like 100 is there. So 50 will get bind to this already existing glutathione. But again, the remaining 50 molecules of glutathione peroxide, what does they do? They will go and bind to these red blood cells and cause the destruction of these red blood cells by a process of oxidation. So it causes oxidative stress and causes the breaking down of red blood cells. So this is how drug-induced oxidative hemolytic anemia takes place. Okay. So because of these reduced glutathione levels, oxidizing drugs, whatever are there, they will oxidize SH group of hemoglobin and leads to premature RBC destruction. Thereby, it leads to hemolysis. Okay. So glutathione levels is decreased so that oxidizing enzymes, whatever it is there, peroxidase or they will drugs, they will oxidize the SH group of this hemoglobin. In hemoglobin molecule, there are SH bondings. So that will be oxidized and it causes premature destruction of red blood cells leading to hemolysis. So these are the four mechanisms of how drug-induced hemolytic anemia takes place. First is immune mechanisms. It involves two, that is Hampton and innocent bystander mechanism, and then autoimmune hemolytic anemia, that means autoantibodies to red blood cells were produced, and then oxidative hemolytic anemia. Here whatever the glutathione is levels are decreased, oxidizing enzymes will cause the destruction of these red blood cells by showing some oxidative reactions. Then signs and symptoms of drug-induced hemolytic anemia, it includes any anemias, there will be pallor, fatigue, shortness of breath and malaise. So these are the signs and symptoms. And the drugs that cause this drug-induced hemolytic anemia include metformin, NTG, that is NTG, sulfestamide, sulfanilamide, sulfamethoxazole. So these are the drugs that cause drug-induced hemolytic anemia. Then coming to management. So treatment of drug-induced immune hemolytic anemia. For treating of immune hemolytic anemia, what we have to do? We have to remove the offending drug. And also should provide this supportive care. And treatment of drug-induced oxidative hemolytic anemia, we have to remove this offending drug and also we can give antioxidants, right? And also the other thing that we can do is we have to give is antioxidants. So for immune hemolytic anemia, we have to remove the offending drug or a drug which is going to cause this disease, and also we should give supportive care. For oxidative hemolytic anemia, we have to remove the offending drug, and apart from that, we can also prescribe antioxidants. And then, so this is all about drug-induced hemolytic anemia, and now drug-induced megaloblastic anemia. What does it includes in megaloblastic anemia? Deficiency of vitamin B12 and folic acid, that we call it as megaloblastic anemia. So this is a condition in which there is abnormal development of RBC precursors like megaloblast in bone marrow. So when it is induced by drugs, that we call as drug-induced megaloblastic anemia. And then coming to pathophysiology, as I said that there will be deficiency of vitamin B12 and folic acid deficiencies. So what does it do? It causes impaired proliferation and maturation of hematopoietic cells. It means here drug. So whatever the drug it is there, it will causes impaired proliferation and maturation of hematopoietic cells and causes cell cycle death. So because of this impaired proliferation and maturation, cell cycle will not be taking place properly. Its subsequent sequestration also will not take place. So the drugs that include that cause this drug-induced megaloblastic anemia include methotrexate, cotrimoxazole. So how does they show its mechanism? They will block this DHFRase enzyme and then they will convert it into deoxythymidine triphosphate, which is not formed. So because of that, DNA synthesis also does not take place. So once again, I'm repeating, whatever the drug is there, that will cause the impaired proliferation, maturation of the hematopoietic cells. So thereby it causes disruption in the cell cycle process, and also proper sequestration will not be taken place. So the mechanism is whatever the drug it is there, like methotrexate and cotrimoxazole, they will block this DHFRase enzyme. So because of that blockage, what will happen? DTT, that is deoxythymidine triphosphate, will not be formed. So when it is not formed, DNA synthesis will not be taken place. When DNA synthesis is not there, there will not be proper proliferation and maturation of cells will not be taken place. Okay, so as cotrimoxazole is less specific to human DHFRase, disease occurs only in those with vitamin B12 or folic acid deficiencies. And then anti-epileptic drugs like phenobarbital, primidone, phenytoin. So these also causes megaloblastic anemia by two mechanisms. One is blockage of folate metabolism and increased folate catabolism. Catabolism is nothing but breaking down of this folic acid. So folic acid will be broken down. That means metabolism will be, so there will be breaking down of this folic acid already formed folic acid, and blockage of folate metabolism. Folate metabolism also will not be taken place, so that proper absorption of folic acid will not be taken place. So this is how folic acid deficiency takes place when we are using these anti-epileptic drugs. And the signs and symptoms include shortness of breath, malaise, muscle weakness, irregular heartbeats, and dizziness. So these are the signs and symptoms of drug-induced megaloblastic anemia. And then coming to management, for cotrimoxazole induced anemia, what we have to give, because in cotrimoxazole it will cause us a deficiency of folic acid, we have to give this folinic acid 5 to 10 mg. QID means 4 times in a day. And for AED induced anemia, that is anti-epileptic drugs in induced anemia, in that conditions also there will be deficiency of folic acid, because they have increased metabolism and increased catabolism and decreased metabolism. So again, in this condition also we have to give folic acid supplements like 1 mg per day, and check for effectiveness of AED in patients. So when we are giving these medications, we also have to check whether the treatment of anti-epileptic drugs is good or not. So this is all about drug-induced megaloblastic anemia. And now drug-induced thrombocytopenia. So what do you mean by thrombocytopenia? Thrombocytes are nothing but platelets. Thrombocytopenia. Penia means decrease. That means decrease in the platelet count will be seen. Like less than 1, like 1 lakhs per mm cube. So then we call it as drug-induced thrombocytopenia. Again, in this condition also, the pathophysiology includes three mechanisms. First is direct toxicity reactions, hapten type immune reactions, and the third is drug-induced autoimmune thrombocytopenia. So first is direct toxicity reactions. So whatever the drugs that we are taking, that will directly cause a damage of red blood cells, cause the damage of these platelets. Example, chemotherapeutic agents like any anti-cancer drugs. So they will suppress thrombopoiesis. What does they do? They will suppress or inhibit the formation of new platelets. So thrombopoiesis will be suppressed. So as the thrombopoiesis is suppressed, there will not be proper production of platelets, cannot be seen, like causes reduction in number of megakaryocytes in bone marrow. So that means from bone marrow, production of these platelets will not be taking place properly. That is first thing. First is direct toxicity reactions. So whatever the drug is there, like chemotherapeutic agents, they will directly suppress the thrombopoiesis. So because of that, megakaryocytes will be decreased in bone marrow. So platelets will not be produced properly. And then hapten type immune reactions. So when the drug is there, when it will go and binds to platelet glycoproteins, so on the platelet surface there will be presence of glycoproteins. So when this drug binds to this platelet glycoprotein, it forms a complex. So that complex we call it as hapten, right? So that complex is considered as hapten. And when this complex is formed, it will induce the antibody formation. Okay, and these antibodies bind to platelet surface. So whatever the antibodies were produced against this complex, that antibodies will bind to this platelet surface. So thereby causing the destruction of platelets by complement and phagocytic systems. Okay, so here the drug doesn't directly induce the production of antibodies. Only when this drug binds with glycoproteins present on the surface of the platelets, these two will form a complex. So that we call it as hapten. So this hapten will induce the production of antibodies. So whatever the antibodies it will be produced, that will bind to this platelet surface, causing the destruction of platelets by complement and phagocytic systems. And usually this is caused by drugs like quinidine, quinine, rifampin, heparin, gold salts, and sulfonamide. So these are the drugs that cause drug-induced thrombocytopenia. And the other is drug-induced autoimmune thrombocytopenia. Autoimmune thrombocytopenia, that means there will be production of autoantibodies. So whatever the drug is, it will directly induces the production of autoantibodies to the platelets. So these autoantibodies, what will they do? They will directly bind to platelet membrane, causes the platelet destruction. Example, it is caused by drugs like gold salts and procainamide. So these are the drugs that cause autoimmune thrombocytopenia. Here in this condition, we can see the formation of autoantibodies which will directly react to the platelet surface or platelet membrane and cause the destruction of platelets. And then signs and symptoms include petechiae, that is formation of red colored dots on the surface of our body, ecchymosis, increased bruising, that is bluish discoloration, bleeding from mucous membranes, and severe purpura and epistaxis. Epistaxis is nothing but bleeding from the nose, that we call it as epistaxis. So as there is decrease in the thrombocytes, that means decrease in the platelets, there is more tendency for bleeding. So that is the reason why there will be bleeding, why we can see this bleeding in this condition. And then coming to management. So first we have to, we have to remove the offending drug, and then we have to use supportive treatment. And for heparin induced thrombocytopenia, what we have to do? We have to remove or discontinue the source of heparin, and it is mandatory to give heparin in that condition. So then at that time what we can do? We have to focus on alternative anticoagulation. So when we are going to stop this heparin, we have to think about other anticoagulants. And like at that time, we have to go for drugs like direct thrombin inhibitors like lepirudin, bivalverin, argatroban. So in conditions where heparin is contraindicated, at that time we can go for lepirudin, bivalverin, or argatroban. Coming to argatroban, so when we are giving this argatroban, it requires adjustment in the liver functions. So first we have to go and check this LFT. If LFT is normal, then only we have to start this argatroban. And this also can be used in patients who are at ESRD, that is end-stage renal disease. So in that conditions also, it is safe to use this argatroban as an anticoagulant. And bivalverin. So when we are giving bivalverin, we have to check this renal functioning. We have to check for renal failure. So should not be given. It can be given in. So when we are giving this, it requires dosage adjustment in severe renal failure. At that condition, we should be carefully. We have to calculate these doses, and then we have to do dosage adjustment. And then coming to lepirudin. Lepirudin is obtained from the leeches, so it requires dosage adjustments in kidney dysfunction. And 30% of patients when treated with lepirudin for first time formed antibodies. So who are taking this lepirudin for the first time, they have developed the formation of antibodies. So there's only focus only on treatment course for lepirudin. So we have to just focus on the treatment course for lepirudin. So this is the management of drug-induced thrombocytopenia. So with this, we will complete this second unit portion also. Thank you all. Bye bye. Signing off for today.